What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to the Cutlass Board Games channel. I'm Keith, and I make board games. But over the weekend just gone, I went to Clocktower Con Australia, which is one of the cooler conventions that we have here because Bud and the Clocktower was made in Sydney. It's kind of a cool Sydney unique convention. Like Australia's biggest convention is PAX, but there's like 100 other one of those. The Clocktower Con feels really special because it's in the dirt from which the game kind of grew up. And so I got to go there, but I also got to have my own little booth there with some of the stuff that I've been working on. I was showing off Murders at Two Woods Manor, which is my kind of murder mystery type of thing. I don't know, Clocktower isn't specifically murder mystery, but they're all kind of murder mystery adjacent. And Cutlass, which is another one that we see on the channel here as well. And I kind of wanted to just run through my highlights of the experience. On the Saturday, it was the first day that I went. I didn't go on the Friday. Last year, 2024, the Friday was not in the convention hall. It was at like a satellite kind of venue. And so I didn't end up going. I ended up just doing Saturday and then Sunday. And because of where the booths and stuff are located, it was like really out of the way. There wasn't really any foot traffic. And so it was hard to get seen. Whereas this year, they changed that problem. In the main round area, like the center of everything, we were put literally on the outer perimeter of that. So anyone that was playing games in the main hall would have seen my big pull-up banner, would have seen kind of the stuff I had set up on my table. But I wasn't always at the table. Because of last year, I knew that there was a certain rhythm to the traffic of everything. People would be like, well, I have a scheduled game, there's a game starting. And they kind of run the same every hour. And so there was kind of maybe 15 minutes, between, let's say, 10:50 and 11:05, right? Where people are actually walking around wandering, looking at stuff. Or am I going to go pick up a game? Am I going to go find something? What am I doing? And that's kind of when people would be coming and looking at stuff. So I mean that like most of the time people were busy playing Clocktower, as is expected. And that's fine. And so I spent the first half of Saturday pretty much just running the booth, just talking to people, kind of giving the pitch and explaining stuff and what's going on. And then after that, I got to play some Clocktower games. And I do want to kind of run through like my Clocktower games experience. But one of the big highlights for me was that our regular group that we play on a Monday night with, that the people that you see in all the videos and stuff like that, the vast majority of those people were there at Clocktower Con. Some of the out-of-towners were even bullied into coming down with us. And so I got to play with a lot of these people. I ran 2 or 3 games. You'll probably be looking at footage right now of me running one of the games. I asked Rick from our group to film me running some stuff, and you'll see a goofy game of Irrational Behavior is the name of the script, which is one of the new Wraith scripts, where we had a bunch of people sitting on the floor and like really goofing around with the Wraith ability. We had people untying shoelaces. We had people making all kinds of jokes. Somebody sold some pizza. Just like a really lighthearted, fun, and silly kind of, con experience. Everyone was kind of exhausted. There was like really long days of con hours. Not much good sleep to be had afterwards. And then we're just happy being silly and having fun. But we did have some like really cool, very serious games. On the Saturday, I remember playing in a Legion game where I was the balloonist, and we lost, and not by a small margin, but I correctly called, with the exception of one person, the entire good team on the final day, and I knew exactly who the Legion was that I had to kill on the final day, because that was the person I learned, like, as my last piece of information, which was fine. Because even if I was convinced that it wasn't a Legion game, that was the person I still wanted to kill, because the other person in the final 3 was acting like a minion the entire game. So I never thought that they were the demon. I always thought that they were just like a noisy minion. And so I always was trying to kill that guy, but he nominates me first. Right at the beginning, all of the Legion hands go up, and there was one townsfolk that thought that I was evil, and that was enough for us to lose. Which, it's fine. I get that's how it is. It was a really interesting game. We had an evil harlot, which killed one of our townsfolk by activating, which I think it was fine. I think it like actually told us some interesting stuff. And in a Legion game, like the Harlot either kills a Legion, everyone goes, "Oh, it's a Legion," or in a non-Legion game, kills a townsfolk, and like that's kind of what you would expect. So I thought that was a fine choice. And afterwards, the storyteller was like, "Yeah, actually, evil travelers are better in a Legion game because good travelers can skew the vote and be way more of a detriment in that way," which I totally actually agree. I think I'm convinced on that one. But the second traveler that we had was a judge that put through an executioner on a townsfolk, and I think that that was perhaps a bit too strong. So I just think what the type of traveler is also very important. Because like Voodon is probably also like really strong, really bad. Actually, I feel like every execution would fail if only Legion are dead for a while. Unless the Voodon is good, which is way worse in that scenario, right? If the Voodon is evil and only Legion have died for a while, no executions can go through, which is really funny. Well, I guess unless it's specifically the Voodon is on voting, which is kind of goofy. But you know, like I got to the end, I'm like, I had the solve even though I lost. And then I played. I think Irrational Behavior was the script that I played the most, but I only played that on Sunday. On Saturday, I ran 2 games of, I don't remember the name. It also starts with an I, but it's the other Wraith script. And we had just 2 games that ended instantly. Game 1, the Fortune Teller picks the Traveler and the Demon, and I have to give them a yes, and then they executed the Demon immediately. Game 2, they executed the Demon on the second day, which is, I made a small mistake where I forgot to wake up the little monsters and let them choose who is babysitting. And so, before nominations and executions, I rectified this. I just realized I put everyone back to sleep. I let them re-choose, and then went to nominations and executions. Now, the player who was originally holding the little monster got gambled incorrectly, and the gambler died. And so they were really confident that that guy was the demon. But they, when I allowed them to move who's babysitting, they moved it on to somebody else, and that somebody else was the person that was executed instead. So it was like, look, I did everything. I tried my best to rectify the situation, but it didn't come together. And when I talked to other people about it, they were like, yeah, that happened on some other plays of that script that we saw. So I can't tell if it's bad or it's good or not. And again, that one's not Irrational Behavior. That's the other one that starts with an I. The names are just too similar for me to be able to tell them apart. You're only allowed one script that has a word that starts with I in it, apparently. And then after that, so that was in like the main hall area. And then after that, we kind of discovered that there was a nice quiet side room. And then we pretty much spent the rest of the con playing our games in there because it's so much easier to be able to hear what's going on. A lot of the players we play with aren't super loud, so it's a bit easier to kind of follow that. And so I then played some other little games. Most of I can't remember right now, but the one that really did stick out to me was the final one, where it was a 14-player game. I was the Nodashi. On my right was the Mayor, I think, and on my left was the Raven Keeper. I had 3 minions, one of which I framed as a Nodashi early on and got him executed. The second of which, and I barely talked to them at all. I never gave them the bluffs. I didn't talk to them on the first day. I talked to Justin, who I framed as the Nodashi, just to tell him that that was what was going to be happening when he was the poisoner. And then I championed the execution of Siobhan, a person who I've only been on the same team twice now, which I was really excited about because Siobhan's very scary. She's really good at figuring out if I'm full of shit or not. And I was part of the accusation of getting her executed as well. And then I killed Rollo, my third minion, at night on the second last night. And then on the last night, I killed my neighbor, the Raven Keeper. And I've been claiming Oracle the entire time. And so on the final day, we go to frame Amelia, as is tradition. And on the final day, I am saying, everyone, look, I've got an Oracle 2. That means that there has to be 2 evil players alive. I think I'm the only good player alive. two townsfolk turned to me and go, "I trust you, bro. I'm voting with you." The Raven Keeper who was on my left picked me and saw Oracle because, of course, they're poison. But also my minion that I killed the night before, who was also claiming Raven Keeper the whole game, said that they picked me and saw Oracle. And when the vote ran around, there was the 2 alive players and 2 dead players that voted for me. I'm like, guys, that's my Oracle too. This is the whole evil team. We need to lift and vote on Amelia. And we got like 7 or 8 or something. And it was really funny. Both Kate and Amelia were definitely a bit stung by that one. And look, I gave Amelia many opportunities to get revenge on me on Sunday, but I wouldn't say that she was successful. And so that was Saturday. That was like kind of like a half work day. I'll be honest, I didn't put my whole ass into running the booth. For me, because I know that there's so much empty space between games, what's more important is it's there and people can look at it. And I just kind of had all my stuff set up there. And I don't mind, like, because it's my not final manufacturing copies. It's the one that I have that has manufacturing defects. That's been played 1,000 times. It's scratched to shit. I'm like, look, if people are going to steal stuff from, I really don't care. And I have my banner. People can see the banner. And I had a little a placard that had like here's my YouTube channel and stuff on it. And I'm like, that's fine. All I care is that people see it. And then, you know, my trade-off is I get to go and have fun and play games and stuff. And so on Saturday, I got home pretty late. I was super exhausted. Barely got any sleep. I wake up Sunday. I have a big headache. I'm really grumpy, and I go to Uber in to the convention hall, and just kind of the most horrible thing happened to me. I picked Uber Pool. I normally don't have any problem with this, but I guess it invites issues, apparently. And as we're driving to the convention hall, a new customer is added to the ride, and we pull over at IKEA, a furniture store. And the person who's been added to the ride has bought furniture that they ask for the Uber driver to help them load it into the car, which is already a choice that has been made. Now, this next segment is not me trying to play into stereotypes or whatever, but both of them, the new customer and the driver, were English as a second language. The English was pretty good, but the thing was that they, at each other, could not present the exact words that would help them solve the thing. And basically, the new customer with all the furniture had set their destination as the center of an intersection, a place where there's just nowhere to stop, let alone unload from the boot. And the driver was like, "There's nowhere to stop here. Where am I supposed to go?" And she just kept repeating, "There's parking, there's parking." And he's like, "Where? I don't understand. Where am I supposed to go?" And she like wouldn't direct him. She like nothing. They just could not reach any kind of conclusion. They're screaming and yelling at each other. I'm in the back seat, like, what am I supposed to do here? He's then like, "You have to get out here. Like, this is it. This is as close as I can get. You have to get out here." And she's like, No, like, this is not the spot. And he's like, "Well, then where? Where am I going?" And she's like, and like trying to point at the phone, but like that, it's just still pointing at the intersection on the map. And so they're screaming at each other, and then he's like, "Look, I'm just going to sit here and wait until you get out." And then after 10 minutes of that, where just literally nothing changed, they just awkwardly sat there, and she had called a friend and was like repeating the conversation to the friend. He turns around and goes, "You're going to have to cancel the trip." I'm like, oh, okay. I'm a 52-minute walk from the convention hall. I'm already grumpy, half asleep. I have a big headache. I'm like, all right, whatever. I go and get a second Uber night. I go up to the thing. I show up. I'm kind of exhausted. I hadn't eaten breakfast yet. And so I was kind of expecting to just have a bad time. Like, going into a game of Clocktower, you're already kind of grumpy. Something extra bad or like something goofy with the script happens, and you're like, oh, that kind of sucks. But it didn't actually ruin my day at all. It didn't like really dampen anything. I was like really anxious showing up at the start. I've mentioned on the channel before, I have like really bad anxiety all the time. Like, leaving the house is really hard. But I'm like sitting at my booth for a while. I'm going to eat my breakfast. I'm going to chill. I'm not going to do anything just yet. And it's kind of watching people play games. And then like more towards the middle of the day, I, kind of found a regular group. We kind of found a thing. And we started running some games. And that's what, the footage was recorded from. That's me running Irrational Behavior on the Sunday. And we had like a lot of goofy, fun games. It was really cool. I was able to kind of relax a bit more, and we played a bunch of different stuff. And then towards the end, Adam, who is another local, basically came in and he was like, "Hey, I've had this beginner group come and like kind of play a bunch of Trouble Brewing, play a whole bunch of stuff, and I want to run them through a custom script, and I want to put them with some veteran players, but I do want you to be kind of nice to them. I don't want you to do anything too crazy. Don't like run the game or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever, I'm down for that. He did specifically single me out many times, but I think it's because he trusts that I know that I'm not gonna fuck up the vibe or whatever. And so I agree. I can't play on this thing, and I think it was three of us players that he had labeled veteran. It was myself, Amelia, and Jono, and yeah, I think that was it. I don't think I had met anyone else from the circle before. And he puts me in a rev pair. He picks an older lady, and he's like, okay, yeah. He asked from a group of older ladies, which of you feels the least confident? And Sal put a hand up. She's like, yeah, me. And then so he put myself and Sal in a rev pair, which is really strong. Rev pair is incredibly powerful. It's extra powerful when it's a veteran player and a new player. So that was really interesting. And so I'm the High Priestess, and I was basically given all the game solving information. And my rev pair, Sal, was the seamstress. And I basically said to her at the start, I'm like, look, I'm happy for you to make any kind of call outs you want. If you really want to be voting for someone, if you really think that you will say something, I will vote with you. Otherwise, if I feel strongly about something, I'll say it essentially. But we know that we can trust each other. And we then had a Wizard Wish go off where some crazy stuff happened. And basically, my High Priestess information was insanely helpful. I learned the monk on the night that they swapped their target to be targeting the demon. And so I thought that the player that they were now protecting must have been really important. And then I never learned that player. So Dave was bluffing as the fortune teller, but had become the demon after Wizard Wish. And Selby, who was the monk, was protecting Dave. And Selby, who was the monk, was protecting Ben, the puzzle master, before this. And because of the switch, that was the night that I was directed to go and talk to Selby. I'm like, okay, Dave's really important somehow, but not specifically the person that I should go and talk to, which I thought was really interesting. And Dave ended up being the demon at the end. And so like that was kind of like a clue towards that happening. But also I learned the Banshee on the very, very first night. I went and talked to the Banshee. I'm like, what are you? And they're like, they gave me some bullshit. And then they died and were announced. I'm like, okay, I'm definitely not puzzle drunk. Because they really helpful info on that one. And I also learned a noble. Yeah, I learned a noble that had been turned into a village idiot as part of the Wizard Wish. And the night that I learned them was the night that they turned into the village idiot. So this person trusted me immediately because they're like, yeah, something crazy just happened to me. It makes sense that a High Priestess would learn me. And so I managed to build this, gigantic trust chain and kind of, figure everything out. I had no idea what the Wizard Wish was. And then, we managed to come and execute the demon. And it was really cool to see, a lot of the new players kind of explain the things that they did. And they had a pretty good understanding of what was happening with the game, but the choices that they made were not great, which, it's something that just comes with experience. But, for example, the Puzzle Master guessed on the very first day, and they learnt that the Banshee was the demon, and then the Banshee was confirmed to be the Banshee, the next day, and he's like, yeah, maybe I should have picked differently. And my rev pair, the seamstress, picked the Banshee, great choice, and Amelia, the village idiot who was next to me, and learned that they were both good. Very helpful information. She didn't tell me until it was too late because we executed Amelia, and that night I was like, hey, you should use your seamstress ability now. And so I was like, no, I did already. I'm like, oh, what did you get? Oh, I learned Amelia was good. I'm like, well, you should have said something yesterday when we were trying to execute her. And she was like, oh, I didn't realize I could say stuff while, the nominations and executions were happening. And that was the thing. I was like, okay, yeah, I understand. You want to not, kind of be overlapping and taking up space and creating chatter and stuff like that. And I was kind of like, look, yeah, sometimes it's okay for people to be like, hey, look, I have pertinent, I want to add something to this, it's really important. And then like the storyteller can spotlight that player as well. And then it's kind of explaining all this stuff. But if you'd never had encountered that, you would be like, oh, maybe it's not appropriate for me to say something right now. And it wasn't super detrimental to the game, but it was just like a funny thing that was like, you could have prevented this because we could have trusted her. But what it just meant was that being dead, she's not even everyone will trust that. Which is kind of goofy, but it was actually a really fun game. I think that also was the irrational behavior script because it had a Vigor Mortis killed Wraith, which everyone immediately knew that was exactly what had happened, which was really funny. But it also helped us really solve for the outside account, which is like really important because we had only the Puzzle Master. We could not have had any other outsiders, and so it was really interesting to see what people are claiming and like kind of follow that and follow the outside account and stuff like that. So I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a really cool experience, and I appreciate Adam being like, hey, you know, trying to come and help me with this thing, and like the trust that he has in me to know that I'm not going to fuck up the vibe. So that's always a kind of good thing. And I've said a few times that I have like a really short list of players that I really do trust as storyteller, and Adam's definitely one of them. This game in particular, he was a lot more theatrical than usual because he's trying to put on a show for the new players and really get them excited and stuff about it. And for me as a player, I'm like, I don't care. I just want to know what's going on. I'm not really interested in the story fluff kind of stuff. And I do want to make another video talking about like that kind of theatrical performance aspect of it. Because I think some of it is important, knowing your audience and stuff like that. And this is definitely one of those times, right, where you have a bunch of new players, you're trying to sell them on it. And then we did get to play a couple of games afterwards with some of the players that we had just met from that. Belinda and Michael came and joined us. And then we played something else that had the Wraith on it. I think it was just a different one. And Amelia had just ordered a big pizza. And during the night phase, there was a big scuffle. There was some pizza stolen. And there was lots of laughing and giggling. And so it definitely was just like straight back into goofy, silly, fun games. Which is kind of funny. But I had a good time. I spent more time playing games this year than last year. Last year I only played 3 games total, I think. I got to catch up with a lot of old friends. I got to see a lot of old faces because there's some people that I will only just see once a year at the Clocktower Con because I'm not going and playing at like the local in-person groups anymore. I'm happy just doing my online Monday. But it was just really good. I just think because now that I have that regular Monday group, we're all kind of just hanging out. There's people looking for games. We always kind of had something going on. It meant that I wasn't just kind of wandering around aimlessly, or I didn't feel like I was chained to the booth. I could just be playing games, if I really wanted to be. And I did appreciate that. And after talking with the organizers, they definitely had a big numbers bump this time from last year. So it sounds like the con is definitely growing, is definitely getting a lot more interest in it. We keep meeting a lot of people that flew in from out of town. Like I got to play a bunch of games with Addison from Seattle, shout out, which is kind of cool. And I like meeting a lot of different players because if they've never played in a Sydney meta before, they might have different ideas about how things work and about how stuff's happening and stuff like that. But that's kind of it. I just wanted to give a quick little recap about my fun time at the convention on the weekend. Because that's the things that I'm kind of doing. I'm kind of working, I'm kind of doing stuff. I've got PlayCon next weekend, and I'm going to have John Clear, friend of the channel, also up with me for that. So we might make some stuff, talk about some game design stuff, show off some of the PlayCon things as well. So, I don't know, if you're interested in some of the conventions in Sydney, stick around. If you're interested in some of the game design stuff, or some of the Clocktower stuff that I do, there's plenty of that kind of shit on this channel. So, I don't know, maybe go and explore, and maybe I'll get a chance to play a game with you guys soon.